And right after that, we go from the big boys to the little guys, man. We got a beautiful flyweight fight lined up here. Francisco Figueiredo and Malcolm Gordon. Now, obviously, soft corner Malcolm Gordon, part of that TKO group that's coming to the UFC and try to take it by storm, led by Charles Jourdain of all the guys. But, Gordon's had a tough go in the UFC. He's 0-2, Sumu Derji, clean finish in that one. And Albazi. And so the big thing for me with Gordon is in his only two fights in the UFC, he's fought at flyweight, he's fought at bantamweight, and he's fought against what I would consider top 10 fighters in the making, bar none. And, Albazi being your first flyweight fight, despite coming in as the TKO flyweight champion, it is a huge step up in talent. And when you think about Francisco Figueiredo, only one fight against Jerome Rivera. And what we've seen from Jerome Rivera, I mean, to be quite honest, that's a fringe UFC fighter. I think he's got all the heart in the world. Skills seem to be there, but I just think that there's so many gaps in the game. And the lack of discipline in how he approaches the early parts of the rounds is what makes him such a tough guy to ride, because if he gets to the second and third round, you can find success similar to that Francisco Figueiredo fight. But look at this past weekend when he fought my guy Zhalgas Zhumagulov. I mean, that first round was just full of open areas where, Zhalgas was just able to take advantage very quickly. And so first submission win for him. Be curious to see where Rivera's career goes from here. But with Figueiredo, I think there's a path to victory there for Malcolm Gordon. I do think that Figueiredo is going to be a favorite in this. I really think it's going to be between that ranges of minus 200, minus 300. I just can't see it being anywhere, lower than that for sure, and higher just only maybe based on people riding the lines of seeing an 0-2 UFC fighter like that. But for me, you got to keep utilizing those strikes and also manage your cardio. I found in that Jerome Rivera fight, the moment Rivera was able to eat the punches and just kind of get that cardio edge over him, he was just able to do his own thing. As the guys get tired, the power, decreases. The ability to kind of move those hips and stay into, opportune positions becomes a lot more difficult. And Rivera was able to do some damage up against the fence, down on the ground, was, using strikes in very, very technical areas to try and steal around. And I thought he did a great job of that. So leading into Malcolm Gordon, I think it's the exact same thing. You have such a good option there of just closing the distance. Don't stand at range. I think we've seen how tough it is for him to fight at range, especially against a guy like Sumu Derji. And so I think that Francisco Figueiredo is going to be very difficult in that first round for him. But if he gets out of that first round, I think it's going to come down to setting things up like level changes, pushing him up against the fence, using those opportune strikes to keep it in those areas where you're getting control time, you're getting strikes landed, and even potentially a takedown and some ground and pound. I just think that this is a fight where if Malcolm Gordon keeps going into it thinking that he can really strike with some of these bigger fighters, I think he's just not getting the opportunity to see where he stacks up there, because the fights are actually ending pretty quickly. 4 of his last 5 wins are actually by submission. So that's where I'm kind of wondering if he's just getting excited to be in the UFC and wants to get some big finishes instead, and, fight of the night bonuses with some of these big names. But in terms of just getting a dub, I think there's an opportunity here to manage that distance in the early parts of the fight. Make sure your hands are up and avoid, roll with those punches that could be landing. The Figueiredos have power in both hands, and they bring some serious devastation to the 125 division. But with that said, I think there's an area for Gordon to just play that time game and maybe even eat some of that damage, do some of his own. But that second and third round is where he should really turn up and start to find ways to tire out Figueiredo, because I think if he can prove to be a bit better than Jerome Rivera in this fight, he has an absolute chance to win this, despite what I would be considering a very huge underdog. And with Figueiredo, it is very much using the footwork, getting away from the fence, keep it at distance, and just keep landing those combos. The big thing with the Figueiredo brothers is their combos are phenomenal. Their footwork is great. And like I said, the power that they bring to this division is just something we've borderline never seen before. It really is a testament to how good Brandon Moreno is. My boy, thank you for winning that. I don't think there's a better storyline I've ever looked for, but there you go. I think that one's just a really tough case of, can Gordon deal with that first round of power? Can he get by those big shots? Because even Benavidez found an issue with, big Figueiredo in the later parts of the fight too. So that's where I'm just kind of thinking that if there was a path to victory for Malcolm Gordon, it's 100% going to be in that dirty areas and just certainly not at range, and maybe even working in some takedowns to steal those rounds. It's tough to see him even being able to finish this fight. but I think managing control time, pushing the pace, all those little things that make it visibly your fight to lose are just the big ways for him to win this. Whereas Francis Trinaldo has great opportunity here, especially on the feet, to do some big damage and could even maybe steal an early finish. So let's take a look at the lines. I did mention between minus 200, minus 300. I definitely do not see it under minus 200. And it's just very tough to see this fight specifically being over minus 300. I mean, based on what I said about Nascimento, that could be a little far-fetched as well, but I just think it's tough for this one. So let's take a look. And all right, yeah, actually smack dab in the middle. It actually is moving above that minus 300 already, but open as a minus 250, Figueiredo did, with a plus 210 Malcolm Gordon. Now you're seeing Malcolm Gordon come in at that plus 240, plus 260 range, somewhere all over there. And then obviously Figueiredo, even some places giving him now at minus 350, but minus 310, minus 300 seems to be where he's at right now. I think that's a great fight in terms of skill. And if Malcolm Gordon can just keep his wits about him and avoid some of those bigger shots in the early parts of the fight, especially when that power's there. Use some leg kicks to tire out that leg. Make sure the hands are up when you're throwing those kicks, because easy openings as always with those. But it's an uphill battle for him. But I mean, I think that could be anyone's fight, especially in that little range. So keep an eye on that one. It should be fun.